Meeting for January 27th, 2011. We will start by rising for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. First item of business is approval of the agenda, and since we have a very short agenda, I assume nobody wants to change it. You can change it into a longer agenda.
Can we make it shorter?
Agenda.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
She's moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mayor's report, I have nothing to report tonight. Do you?
Just to let you know that Gary Palmer, the Assistant Town Administrator, and I attended the District 2 Tennessee Municipal League meeting in Alcoa. And if you've never been there, it was an incredible experience. Like 100,000 square feet where they have combined all of their, like Public Works, all their fleets, everything under one roof, and it really was built a couple of years ago for a total of $15 million. Sorry about that. Anyway, it was a good meeting, and hope next year, if I am reelected, we will be having the meeting here in Farragut.
And did you say when this was built? 2 years ago? Okay. Interesting. Next item is Citizens Forum, and we have one.
Yes, sir. It's Don Maloney at 848 Prince George Parish Drive.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm born and raised in Farragut, have moved away for a time, but have moved back, and I really do love living here. I've been privately very vocal about red light cameras, but with the announcement of the addition of the fourth one at Campbell Station and Grigsby Chapel, I have decided to become public. When you live on Grigsby Chapel and you have to go Smith Road or Campbell Station, we're going to be trapped like a rat. When I have a statistically greater chance of getting away with armed robbery, home invasion, or selling drugs than turning right on a red light, then we have swallowed the elephant and gagged on a gnat. I looked at my typical week, and if the camera's added at Grigsby Chapel and Campbell Station, I will have the opportunity to go through an intersection with a red light camera between 30 and 40 times a week. That's excessive. That's harassment. I didn't move back to Farragut to have to constantly be looking over my shoulder. I'm going to put this in perspective for you. I've spent the vast majority of today pulling together some statistics. There's roughly 362 intersections in the city and the county of Knox with red lights at intersections. 15 of those have cameras. That's 4%. 4 in downtown, 3 in North Knoxville, 3 in South Knoxville, 0 in East Knoxville, 5 in West Knoxville, none in Powell, none in Halls, none in Gibbs, none in Carter, none in Carnes, and 1 in Fountain City. There's 22 red lights in the town of Farragut, with 4 cameras with the addition of the one at Grigsby Chapel and Campbell Station. That's 18%. There's a total of 19 cameras with the addition of the one at Campbell Station and Grigsby Chapel. 9 of them are in West Knoxville. That's 47% of them are in West Knoxville. All but 1 are west of Cedar Bluff Road. We've lost perspective. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I certainly want to obey the law, but when we take red light cameras and put them at the top of the list of things that we're going to focus on, I don't know if you watched the news the other night, pharmacy robberies are up double the number in 2010 from 2009. I wonder if we're being as aggressive, and a lot of them were in West Knoxville, even a couple in Farragut. I wonder if we're being as aggressive with those kinds of crimes as we are with turning right on a red. I was told by one of the engineers that part of this is for pedestrian safety. I dare say 10 people have not crossed Kingston Pike at Smith Road in the last 50 years. We got to change the perspective, guys. We've got to get hold of this again. I don't know how we've lost it. I know a lot of people that are very upset about it. The people who are in favor of red light cameras think those of us who aren't just don't want to follow the law. I do, but let's put it in perspective. For crying out loud, there's a whole lot more. You know, I saw a woman get knocked completely across the intersection at Everett Road and Kingston Pike because she was trying to turn left because there's not a turn lane. Let's focus on the real problems. I just think that we're, like I said, we're swallowing the elephant and we're gagging on the gnat. We really are. And I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I'm not going to have a whole lot of choice, and I don't really think it's fair for those of us who live on Grigsby Chapel to be subjected that many more times than people who live in other parts of the county who may not encounter a red light camera 40 times in a year. I'm going to probably, and not just me, all people who live up and down there. So I felt like I needed to say something. I felt like I needed to bring this to the attention of this board. And I've never had a ticket. So I'm not here because I'm, upset because I've gotten one, because I've never had one. But I find myself paying more and more attention to traffic lights and less attention to the people in front of me. Just yesterday at the corner of Smith Road and Kingston Pike, there was a wreck, and I know the lady that works at the Weigels there, and she said it looked like to her like it was a result of somebody stopping and not going through and the person behind them hitting them. I don't know. I think we've really lost perspective. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. I do have a question for you, and that is, take away the red light camera issue for a moment, and you said that there are more serious things that we should worry about. What would you have the town of Farragut do about those more serious things?
I don't really know. I'm not a law enforcement expert, but I think if evidently somebody has put a lot of time and effort into designing this system, I think, you've got to work with Knox County deputies and try to beef up some things. Let's put some cameras in CVS and Walgreens and catch those people, since that crime has increased 100% one year over another.
Those cameras are there.
Well, evidently they are not doing the job they're intended to do, because evidently not all of those people have been caught. I just think it's absolutely absurd that, we've degraded to this. I don't know. I think it's, and I understand that if you get a ticket and you don't pay it, then it goes on your credit report. That sounds like 2 kindergarten kids telling them, I'm going to tell my mama. I'm just going to tell you.
Let me ask you this. If anybody is responsible for providing safe streets and intersections in the town of Farragut, who is it?
Well, I see a lot of Knox County deputy cars. We have a citizens watch in our subdivision, and the county cars are in and out of there all the time. So, not all the time, but I don't know, but I don't.
You're confusing enforcement with road building and everything else. Who is obligated to provide safe roads? And
I don't know, but I don't think, I think if we're going to put cameras up, then we ought to have, the state troopers ought to be out on I-40 every mile with a, you know, with a radar gun, 24/7.
I agree with that.
I mean,
But,
you know, here's a for
point
instance.
My point is that the town of Farragut has that obligation. Were we to shirk our responsibility in that regard, we now have liability. Wouldn't that be correct?
Well, what about the other states that don't even have cameras approved for their states,
Well,
and
we're
the other
talking about-
cities that have chosen not to do? They have a way. Why don't you check with some of the other people that don't use cameras and see what they do? I'm not the mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Maloney for coming in. It's kind of timely that he did, because it's been on my mind quite a bit, and particularly with the press that we've seen lately. Representative Ryan Haynes proposed legislation to make a red light essentially a yield sign. And I would just like to note that, can anybody tell me, when did we actually start enforcing the cameras? What was the actual date? It's been over a year, hasn't it?
December, I believe, December of 2009.
Yes, it's been over a year, is what I was thinking. I haven't seen, I think it's probably time that we take a look at it and see if they're actually doing what the prior administration sought to accomplish by them. I haven't seen any actual accident statistics. I've heard some rumblings in the paper, but I've never actually seen the statistics. Have we had a decrease in T-bone accidents, serious accidents? Do we have an increase in rear-end collisions? One. Number two, I'd like to see what the ratio of the red light actually running a red light tickets, the ratio compared to the number of right-hand turn tickets we're getting. If it's 80% one and only 10 or 20% actual red light running, I'm not sure that we're properly tuned. And secondly, I'd like to review the contract and see what the ramifications are if we choose not to place a camera that we have intended to put in at Campbell Station Road, because in this entire time, I haven't found anyone that supports them. I mean, I have found wild opposition to them. I think there may be some people that support them, because I've read in press talks, some people come on but I've never met one of them, and none of them have ever signed their name. So I wonder if it's really a good thing for the town, if it's sending the right message. We want to be a friendly town. We want to have prosperous businesses here, and that we're getting ready to put a real deterrent right at the major intersection coming into the town and coming into our commercial district. And so I think it's something we need to think about. I think before we install that next camera, I'd really like to see a public forum on it and see if the town supports it, because my sense is they're wildly opposed to it.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I do have one thing just to follow up on Alderman Markley's comments. Our traffic enforcement manager, Ben Harkins, he is working on gathering all that data from the last 2010 calendar year to show what has happened with the number of incidences over that time period. We hope to have that in this next month and be able to have a workshop with the board and present those facts and figures to you. So that'll give you a pretty good perspective on on how well they have worked over that last year in reducing the number of violations at those different intersections.